coring anything right now. Yeah, so you got Chambly and Dijonais. Just these two from Burgundy. Good provinces. Nice farmland, nice development, especially for Dijonais, crikey. And then the Dutch, what are the Dutch going to take? As much as they possibly can, probably. What's the Picardy area? Picardy is ostensibly part of Belgium. I don't think it actually is. I think Picardy is France, but this bit is Belgium. Who is Mutapa allied to? That's a pretty good question. Let's go to the Congo, just so I can see. Mutapa is currently allied to Sakalava, which is irrelevant. Oh, it's Madagascar. Hard to get at. So you would basically need to wait until you could piece Sakalava out for a white peace without occupying any of their territories. Unless, of course, Congo has a decent navy. I have my doubts. Congo's built no ships. That doesn't surprise me very much. They don't really have any reason to try and get force production going. Andalusian privateers. There seem to be a lot of privateers in this game. The Danes definitely seem to have started something there. So how long is the Muscovite truce going to be? Actually easier if we do this. Truce with Timurid is going to be 1626, that's 13 years from now. And with the Commonwealth, 27, so that's 14 years. So both of them maxed out their truce timers. Whether we see the Timurids going for any more of this territory or not, I don't know. Actually, that's a point. How much money is Timmy making from trade? Because I don't really know how valuable Russian trade is. Apparently, it's pretty valuable. Crikey. Samarkand being fed by Siberia, Yumen, Lahore, of course. Trying to cut off Persia, which is one of the reasons Persia is so valuable, because you can get trade coming in from India, basically via Bengal, Doab, Lahore, Persia, or Lahore to Samarkand apparently, to Persia. Where is he ultimately collecting from? Where are your traders? That's a lot of rebels. Building ships. Oh, down here. Why are you building ships? What benefit do ships give to Timurids right now? Because that suggests he's planning to go abroad. Maybe trying to get over here into Aden or secure more of Hormuz. Oh, you might be collecting on Hormuz. Collecting in Persia, collecting in Samarkand. Now, see, that's a mistake. You should be pushing trade from Samarkand into Persia, because you will consolidate a lot more trade in Persia. Because Persia, you're not collecting as much as you can because your trade power is taking that 68% penalty. If you collect only in Persia and you push trade from Samarkand into Persia, you will make a ton more money. I would pretty much guarantee that. Especially if you keep the Census of Trade here upgraded, which you're doing. Like, you control a vast amount of Persia. The Persian trade node. It's only really 2 centers of trade in an estuary that you're missing out on. Yeah, you would definitely make money that way. Especially as if you have a world trade center. Oh, yeah. That's a mistake. You should definitely be pushing and then collecting in just one place. Like, it's almost never a good idea to collect in 2. Timmy ships to control Basra. Let's push it into Persia. Can't. Oh, yes you can. Yes you can. Although right now, doesn't have a merchant here. So it's just Lahore and Doab, which makes sense. Doab into Lahore, then Lahore into Persia, and Samarkand into Persia. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. With this many trade nodes around, which Timurids could actually get a significant amount of power over, it could actually be worth them going for trade ideas. They have gone for trade ideas. And they're going to get that caravan power, which is going to be hugely influential for all of the overland trade. It's like one of the only ways to get caravan power. So it's worth doing. I think Timmy will try very hard not to antagonize PLC. I mean, they've already antagonized them in quite a few ways. I mean, cutting PLC off from Russia is kind of a big deal. I mean, yes, at this point they've probably gone, okay, I've done enough. I've curtailed further Commonwealth growth, let's call it at this point. Particularly because Timurids are going to be wanting to focus down here into Delhi, as the war, which surprises precisely nobody, has kicked off. And has Vijay done anything with Malwa? No. Vijay has made no attempts to stop Timurid expansion into India and to form Mughals, which I think is a mistake. Like, that is a big deal. Keep Timmy as Timmy. Don't let them become Mughals. Oh, and here we go. Commonwealth has gone after the Ottomans. He's waited long enough. Arabia still hasn't appeared. And he's just gone and said, Ottomans, I'm killing you. Who are the Ottomans allied to, if anybody? Who stuck by them? Avaria. That's not going to be enough. So, I suspect, actually, the Commonwealth is going to take more Crimean territory than Ottomans. And the simple reason for that is Crimea has loads of steppes. And one thing that we know that the Commonwealth has been wishing they had more of is steppes. And the reason for that is because of these guys. Plus 20% combat ability, plus you can then hire Cossack units, which come with even more, I think it's damage. Let me see what they do. Here we go. Cossacks, plus 10 shock damage bonus. With the Commonwealth cavalry modifier, which right now is 83%. Yeah. They're basically unstoppable. Avaria's doing their bit. Trying to siege down the province. The Ottomans would need to be allied to half the world to stop the PLC. I mean, the Ottomans were basically going to be the buffer state between the African Confederation and Commonwealth expansion. So we had the Ottomans, Arabia, Andalusia, and it would be better if Mali and Ethiopia were in that grouping. Better yet if it was Ottomans, Arabia, Timurids. I think those three could have done it. But Timurids have not had any real interest in aligning with the Ottomans and Arabia, which I think might have been a bit of a mistake, actually. But now that the Ottoman player has dropped out, this is completely up for grabs. And the fact that Arabia is not here has kind of screwed them. Because Arabia really needed to try and take as much of Turkey as they possibly could before the Commonwealth grabs it. Like, everything that Arabia fails to get, Commonwealth is probably going to grab. Cossack winged hussars, yeah. And they are a little bit dangerous. Just a little bit. So what potential weaknesses does the Commonwealth have now? One of them would be, I would say, they're increasing reliance on trade. If you can cut that off, like, one of the problems that I did find when I was playing the Commonwealth game is even though the Commonwealth are huge, they're still relatively poor. And if you can deny them that trade income, that could actually deny them a fair amount of troops and troop replenishment. The other thing is they do have a coastline which they are going to be reliant on, particularly because they are collecting in the Baltic. So a certain outpost, which a certain player still has here, could certainly have an impact on that. Particularly because Gotland would give you a base to operate from to take the Commonwealth Scandinavian territories, and would allow you to pursue a hit-and-run strategy against Commonwealth. So if the main war was going to be between, say, Arabia and Arabia and Commonwealth, Arabia being allied to Andalusia, as we know those two are, then the majority of the war is going to be fought here. So if you had Andalusian troops hitting them from the back, then that could certainly cause them problems. Greece has so much development that it will take several wars for the Commonwealth to reach Anatolia. That could be true. Yeah, that could well be true. But still, this is all time that Arabia needs. And also what could happen here, Commonwealth could just grab these provinces and just cut Arabia off from expanding into Anatolia at all. If you wanted to be real sod about it, it's possible. And also, he can feed territory to Hungary, which right now he's not doing, but that's usually like a last moment step. Is there anyone else that we think could stand up against the Commonwealth, I wonder? I mean, obviously if Prussia and Austria broke their alliance, that could cause serious issues. I would say that Austria, Prussia, with Dutch or Arabian money could cause serious problems, but I just can't see that alliance breaking. I know there have been a couple of tensions between Austria and the Commonwealth, but I don't think they are, frankly, that risky. Denmark could still, but I think Denmark stands to lose far more with any conflict with the Commonwealth now, so Denmark is effectively being brought into Commonwealth zone of control. But, as we have seen from previous wars, Denmark is a really tricky player. Like, never underestimate Val's ability to screw with you, especially if you make him into an enemy. France, I don't think really wants that kind of conflict. The African Confederation, if we could see these guys all uniting, that is a lot of development, that is a lot of manpower, and the line against the Commonwealth, especially if it was an aggressive war, could be fighting the Georgian mountains. Could work, but I think the main player, which any opponent to the Commonwealth had to bring in, would be Timurids. They'd have to. And until now, as we've seen, the Timurids are not willing to antagonize them. They don't want to risk it. And I think Timmy has their own rivals to consider, because Timmy and Arabia, not particularly friendly, and Vijay and Timmy, I don't think will be friendly at all. And Vijay is too big and too important a power to leave uncontested here in the south. A Mediterranean alliance with Prussian support. France, Arabia, Austria, Andalusia and Prussia joined together, and the Mughals would crush the Commonwealth easy. Yeah, but I can't see the players grouping up like that. Like I said, Prussia and Austria are very unlikely to leave the Commonwealth, especially Prussia. Austria might. If you offer Austria the right terms, they might well do it. But Prussia owes their entire existence to the Commonwealth. I think if there was ever going to be a player who really stood against the Commonwealth, it would be Arabia. And if there was somebody that other players would rally around, it would be Arabia or Andalusia. I would say Andalusia has the better diplomatic positioning, while Arabia just has the cold hard currency to do it. Val almost killed my bloodline CK2 MP a while back. Yeah, I know. Val is a very tricksy player, and I've heard a couple of players saying Val is the reason that Europe hasn't united against a certain single threat, and the reason that all of this is so fragmented is partially down to Val and the way that he causes conflict between other players. Though I think that that guy has to take a share of that responsibility, and potentially Blue Kiwi, because Blue Kiwi has actually been pretty antagonistic in European politics. But I have to say that Blue Kiwi has played Portugal very, very well. Like, he's expanded in Iberia, that's relatively rare. He's doing his colonial game very, very well. He played his exploration game extremely well by not exploring until he was ready to actually colonize. That's a strategy I would never have considered, and it was one that I was giving a very hard time for, but it's paid off. It's meant that no other European player really knows what's going on in America and Africa. It bought him 50 years of basically a monopoly of colonizing, and he's used that time well. I think that these guys are probably too far away. Japan has the potential military quality to stand up to, though probably not defeat the Commonwealth, but I doubt they'll ever have the development base to really pull it off. Brunei and Dai Viet are too much of a naval power. As much as I love the Navy, you can't really beat the Commonwealth with naval superiority alone. Vijay could. Vijay is the development and the force limit where they could. In fact, let's have a look at that. What are the force limits looking like? So we go back to the armies. Ming has the largest, Commonwealth is second, Ottoman still third, with 119,000 troops. And that's during the war. I probably should have been paying a bit more of an attention to see what the Ottomans are actually doing here. Though their manpower has been burned down a fair amount. We've got Commonwealth armies marching over here. They've seen that Hungary is under threat, but the AI not really doing themselves any favour by parking 110,000 men in a single province, which is farmland. They just really want this siege to finish. But their manpower, they're losing like 5,000 men a month just from the attrition. Like, if we take a look at this, what have these guys lost? Actually, a lot less to attrition than I thought. That's like the first bad tick they've had. Commonwealth's lost 55,000 men to attrition already. In fact, they've lost more to combat too. AI Commonwealth's actually done better than I credit them for. How's Commonwealth manpower looking? No problem. They still have 110,000 men sitting in their reserve. Plus, of course, their standing armies of 130,000. Oh, here we go. Battle. River crossing. Farmland, so it's just going to be a -1. Unless, of course, you have the maneuver. They got away just in time. What's your maneuver? 4. What's yours? 2. So they wouldn't even have had the river crossing there. That would have been a very good fight for the Commonwealth. But again, taking this attrition. You're taking 6% attrition. No, 5%. 5 is still the max. Ottomans, what are you doing? Hills. It's a defensive. 70,000 coming in. Here we go. Ah! So we've got 4.8 morale versus 7.2. We know that the quality is going to be on the Commonwealth side. And yeah, these numbers just show you what was going to happen here. Even though the Ottomans just have more troops, the Commonwealth just has that quality. It's kind of insane. Though they are now bleeding a bit this time. The army difference isn't huge. The Ottomans actually have the tactics advantage in terms of discipline. But just the quality. Like, what are the Ottomans fighting with here? It's out of interest. 30-25-10. That's not terrible. It's just unfortunate the Commonwealth's got a 40-83-10. So in fact, in terms of like infantry versus infantry, the Ottomans are competitive. And then it really depends on just how much cavalry the Commonwealth are coming in with. I mean, they're coming in with quite a lot. Yeah, they have 10% worse infantry, which is not unopposable. And then professionalism. The Ottomans also have really good professionalism, actually, which will allow them to take less damage from these battles. Just retook Corfu. Unfortunately, that is a straight crossing because there's no fort in Yanya. Ottomans trying to jump into the ships and then sailing off that way. That's just asking for their troops to be fragmented and split up. Yeah, they really are just splitting up. And then also just taking that 5% attrition. Like, how's this looking now? 20,000 to 70,000. I mean, this side have lost a lot because of that attrition. I'm somewhat surprised it's this much. And the majority of that is Commonwealth. I guess they're the aggressor, so they're sieging more. Well, the Ottomans haven't really sieged very much. 102,000 to 136,000 losses in combat does surprise me. I was expecting the combat losses to be, like, entirely in the Commonwealth's favour. But I guess that just means don't underestimate the Ottomans in a fight, even now. Like, they still have the Sekban infantry. Oh, that's a mercenary, never mind. Do they have Janissaries? I don't even know what Ottoman Janissaries do. Never played as them. Just never appealed. Never wanted to be that strong. It used to be a modifier. I don't think it is anymore. I think it's actually a unit, isn't it?